Hello everyone, my name is Jason Erik Lundberg, and I am the author of A Fickle and Restless Weapon. Three transnational friends resist a surveillance state, unaware of a looming enemy from above that threatens to destroy them all. So there were a number of things that inspired this particular novel. The first one was my growing unease with the government and corporate surveillance that has infiltrated kind of our everyday lives. Second one was the conspiracy theories that 9/11 was actually an inside job by the Bush administration. The third one was the role of the arts in times of peace and in times of resistance. The fourth one was Rachel Pollack's narrative of the major arcana in the Vertigo Tarot, designed by Dave McKeon. And the fifth one was my visits to Singapore in the early 2000s and the exposure to its culture. There were many other inspirations as well, and you can see those in the acknowledgments section of the book that's in the back. But I do want to also make mention of Trent Reznor, who is a big influence of mine in general as an artist. And I was listening to a lot of Nine Inch Nails and a lot of Trent Reznor's soundtrack work while I was working on this novel. And to pay tribute to that, I named each of the sections after Nine Inch Nails songs and actually put a fictional version of Reznor and his live band in a part of the novel. I found that I had spent so much time with the world building at the beginning of the process of creating this book. I spent an entire year just on the world building. It started to feel real to me, and I felt like there was more than just this one story that could be set there. There could be lots of different stories set there. My novella, Diary of One Who Disappeared, it also takes place in Tinhau, and it's revealed in that book, and this is not a spoiler, that Tinhau is actually an alternate universe version of Singapore. A Fickle and Restless Weapon takes place 25 years before a Diary of One Who Disappeared, and it does explore a number of background events referred to in the previous published novella, including the devastating global attacks by the rain. So you actually get to see those in the novel. In terms of more stories set in Tinhau, there is already an existing short story that takes place in Tinhau called Complications of the Flesh, and you can find that in my short story collection, Most Excellent and Lamentable. And I have a number of short story ideas that are set there. I haven't written them yet, they're all up here right now. But I'm also working on a new novel as well. It's a sequel to Diary of One Who Disappeared. It takes place 5 years after the end of that book and explores the implications of what actually happened in the end of that book. It's called 1986, and I hope to get a good amount of that done later this year and starting next year. This is a complicated answer, but to boil things down, for one thing, I'm a slow writer. It may not look like that from my production over the past decade. I've had a number of books that have come out. A Fickle and Restless Weapon is my 25th book, and all of those books have been published in the last 9-10 years, and so it looks like I'm very productive, but I think it's more that I can multitask. I can do many different projects at the same time. And so I was working on this novel, but I was also writing short stories. I was also putting anthologies together. I was writing picture books for children. So it's lots of different things that I've done during that time. But the novel it's a big book. It's 456 pages, and it's a big story. And this was my first time attempting such a big story. And I needed the amount of time to get to it in order to tell such a big story and revise it and revise it and revise it. The final published version of the novel is actually the 8th draft of the book, so it took a lot of revising and reworking things to make sure that it was the best version of itself. and I give credit to my editor, Eldest Tran, for helping at the end here, after I had gone through so many different drafts, of helping me to shape it and make it the best publishable version of itself. These things are important to me because I believe, as an artist and as a human being, we should be questioning the established order of things. We shouldn't be taking things at face value. We should always be questioning and poking and trying to figure things out. Fiction has a role as consoling and making us feel like we're not alone, and that's a very important role of fiction right now during this pandemic. But I always believe that fiction has the responsibility to actually challenge us and to make us see things from a different point of view in a new way. It's really easy these days to get caught up in our own little belief bubbles, where we're only kind of in an echo chamber of hearing what we agree to be valid and what we agree to be true. It's important to push ourselves outside of that and to see things from a different point of view, because that way we can have a more enlightened way of being in the world. We can think for ourselves and we can decide for ourselves. Readers can expect very human characters in the protagonists of Zed, Terra, and Vahid, even if they all do have superhuman abilities, all of whom are flawed but trying to live a moral life, a life in a moral way. Readers can expect a riveting story of resistance and ultimately of hope, and they can expect the grappling with ethical and philosophical issues, and they can expect explosions. So many explosions.